Hey everybody, so this is our astrology weather forecast for the 22nd of October 2024. A few things going on today. Venus does form a trine to the North Node. That can be something that makes it easier to identify what is our purpose or calling at this point. What is it that in the ever-present trends of humanity that personally strikes us as something that we could derive some amount of value from? A contribution is something that we could give. What's our offering? It could be easier to identify and enact that when we have these good aspects here between Venus and the North Node. We have the annual, biannual square from the Sun to Pluto today. Sun is at the 29th degree of Libra. Pluto's at that 29th degree of the last degrees of Capricorn. So we have a finality here, a completion. There is a oh God, how do I want to put it? A emphasis on the collective individuation process when we have these hard aspects between the Sun and Pluto. So we're looking at, personally, how are we doing on our path to integrating the shadow aspects of ourselves? How well are we doing when it comes to our maturity? The process of becoming our true self by individuating from our parents and reconnecting with our spirit. So we aren't reenacting patterns of behavior, inherited patterns, weight that we carry, karmic situations that keep us trapped and keep us trapped in childhood, keep us trapped in a state of emotional immaturity because we lack trust in ourself. We are still dependent on what is external to us. We haven't come to that place of unification within ourselves. And so we can be extremely naive, extremely manipulatable before we have matured. So we're looking at how well do we trust life? Do we feel scared all the time? Do we feel that others are a source of darkness? Do we feel threatened by life and the world? We are in a state of fragmentation. If that's where we are in a place where we can't trust our judgments, we can't trust our perceptions, we don't have the type of discernment that leads us to making choices that are based in wisdom, not in the immature animal self or the Peter Pan or Tinkerbell version of ourselves. So many Peter Pans and Tinkerbells partnered with each other in July and August, and now find themselves fully trapped in Neverland. While the Wendy's of the world have walked out of those situations because they realize that Neverland is just a place that you visit. It's not a place that you can always live because you never get to grow. And there's a huge wave of maturing individuals as we go towards this collective up-leveling, the ascension process. It's about a 6-year period of time where those who have a calling are asked to do the hard work of walking out of childhood, saying goodbye to picking the low-hanging fruit that exists in the world. Grow up. Assume the divine masculine, divine feminine mantle. We have to integrate the dark and the light. The yin and the yang, the passive and the aggressive within us. We have to become unified within ourselves before we can fully commit to being of service. Before we can fully commit to commitment. Because we'll always have one foot in and one foot out of both worlds. And we can never decide what we want. Because we're not all in one side or the other. And when we aren't unified, there's a loss of life force. There's a loss of solar power. There's a loss of energy because we aren't living out life to our highest potential. We are living in a life of fantasy with fantasy partners whose emotionally immature state also does not allow us to grow. So the Wendy's of the world say goodbye to childhood and leave the Tinkerbells to their jealous, insecure state of being. Because nobody gets to grow if we don't do the hard work, the alchemy. If we do not transform, our dreams never really come true because we're stuck in a pattern of fantasy, frustrated fantasy. We never see the fruits of our hard work. We're stuck in poverty. We're stuck in careers that are not satisfying. And typically for Tinkerbells, they don't pay well. And we don't support ourselves well as Tinkerbells. because we're looking for something outside of ourselves to support us, save us. So Wendy knew, even though she was enamored with Peter Pan, she knew it was just a fantasy. You can't stay there forever. Because Peter Pan is wholly unreliable. There are finished, alchemized, mature, available partners that mirror the state of your own emotional maturity. And this is what's offered to us if we let go of the fantasy that could only exist in a bubble of immaturity anyway. It was never real. Because Peter Pan isn't real. Neither is Tinkerbell. They only show you what you want to see. Because they don't know themselves. When we grow up, we know ourselves. When we grow up, we know what we're going to do. When we grow up, we can predict ourselves. Because we've been put to the test. We become real. So we assess our state of maturity today by looking around and seeing, who have we chosen to partner with?